and welcome to another live show here with me, Peter Driver, Pescari Flies, Saturday night, as usual. We're here based in Thomastown, County Kilkenny, and we've a great show lined up for everyone tonight. Hope everyone's keeping well. As Andrew said there, it's a great day to be Irish. Fantastic results for the Irish rugby team today. Delighted with it, not just the result, but the manner in which they won. Fantastic stuff. So it's brilliant to watch. Great day to be Irish indeed. How you doing, Patrick? Burke is on with us there. Jamie Conway. Elaine Munn is on there. Congratulations, Elaine. Won the flies from last week. Elaine, delighted to see you win that there. Fair play. You're on here every week with us watching it. How you doing, Kieran Sherlock? Kieran's trying see some fantastic flies there. Kieran's putting up on Facebook there over the last couple of weeks. Some very tasty flies there, Kieran. Well done. Paul Burke is on there. Brian Kennedy helped you all keep him well. Dalty O'Donnell's on there. Billy Boland is on there. Dave Donovan is on there. Aidan Gill, Michael Callaghan. How's everybody keeping? Sorka Wells on there. Hope you're doing well, Sorka. Scott Freeman. It's great to have you all back tonight with us here. I hope everyone's nice and relaxed and having a good evening. And enjoyed that bit of rugby you saw today. We are doing Euro Infant Night tonight. How you doing, John Ditch? Good to have you on. We're doing Euro Infant Night tonight, right? So it's all about Euro Infants. We got four brilliant partners to tell for you here, and some very interesting ones and some good discussion points as well. Then in a little while, we're actually going to go downstairs for tackle talk tonight into the shop, and I am going to go through setups. I'm going to go through the whole theory of systems and processes with you. How you doing, David? Jim is on there as well. David Hanford and Jim Myler. We're going to go through the systems and processes we use when we're setting up for your nymph, and we're going to go through leaders, the way we set up our reels and stuff like that. So a very interesting piece coming on in a little while. How you doing, Martin Murray? Very little interesting piece coming on later on. We're going to go down to the shop. Richard Adams on there. How you doing, Richard? Richard's up in the shop. Was there during the week. Richard's tying some pike flies at the moment. They're looking good. Peter O'Connell's on there as well. How you doing, Peter? So that's coming up a little while. A very interesting segment downstairs. I'm going to do, which is for tackle talk tonight. No special guests tonight, so you're stuck with me. I really wanted to get this kind of talk is through. A lot of people ask me about setups and the way I set up the chest pack and all that. So we go through that in great detail later on. Yeah, I think I was actually looking at Sean O'Shea. How you doing? I was looking at changing that Billy to Ireland's call tonight, but I didn't have enough time. I'm not that techie, unfortunately, so I would have had to phone a friend for that. But anyway, look, we'll still celebrate, folks. Great to see the Irish rugby team, moving forward in a really good direction. Thanks, Robbie. Yeah, so that's an interesting piece coming along in a little bit. So we're going to tell you a couple of nymphs. I hope everyone's keeping well, enjoying the week, and enjoying their weekend. If you haven't hit that share button already, folks, hit that share button. Say Elaine Munn won the flies last week. All the nymphs tied from this week. Jonas is on with us there. How you doing, Jonas? All the way from Sweden. If you hit that share button, put a comment in the comment box. That will enter you into tonight's draw. Well, it'll be done Wednesday for all the flies that are tied tonight and flies that are tied in practice. Dave will be along at some stage with his trivia, I'm sure, as well. We got a lovely spot prize there for you. For that, I'll talk to you about that later on. Peter McVeigh is on there. How you doing, Peter? So anyway, let's get down to some flight line. Hit that share button, folks, if you are there, and be great. Thanks a million for the shares and the support. We really do appreciate it here. Okay, so we got a size 18. Tonight's all about your infant. So size 18 G Cook, the Hakko G Cook and device there, and I got a matte black 3mm slotted tungsten bead on it. How you doing, Dylan? So what we're going to start here, this is a Frenchie, okay? So most, the black Frenchie is world famous. Everybody should or does have them in their fly box with the red ass, the black body, silver bead, silver rib, silver bead, and peacock dubbing in behind it. And it is a fantastic nymph. Here's a little bit of a variation of that I started using this year early on in the season, and it produced a lot of fish for me. So I really wanted to show you. It's a very simple nymph. Frenchies can be very simple, and they should be kept simple. Keep it to the basic 5-6 components, and they're super effective, and you got to have them there in the box. So this one I've got here is Tommy thread number 31 is the color thread I'm going to do here. Graham Walsh is on there with us. How you doing, Graham? And I'm going to start that off there. So say it's a size 18 hook. Can be tied in 20s, 16s, whatever your preference is. A little bit of Cocktail Leon. This is the Vogue Cocktail Leon we have in the shop there. Lovely dark, well marked Cocktail Leon. A little bit of Cocktail Leon in there for the tail. I'm going to tie that in there and it forms the little butt there at the back of that nymph. Johnny Wilkins. How's it going, Johnny? Johnny Wilkins is on with us there. Bring that up. We'll finish it. Kevin Maher's on there as well. Good evening to yourself, Kevin. Hope everyone's having a good evening, enjoying the lovely spell of weather we're having over here. Very mild, even very mild out there this evening. I don't think we've had our winter yet. We'll be brought back down to earth at some stage, I think, in the next couple of weeks. Bit of black thread for the body. Saboya, 0.1 wire for the rib. Peter O'Connell. Gonna just tie that in there. Bring that thread back down over that, just till you get your nice little hot spot. You can see that little hot spot sticking out there. Nice flat body on this. I'm not going to taper it much. I want a nice flat slim body on it. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about Euro nymphing while I'm tying these flies. If anybody has any questions tonight, even during the segment of where we go downstairs, that's pre-recorded, by the way, folks. I recorded it earlier on today. And if you do have any questions, throw them up in the comments box and I'll come back to them on the second half of the live show. I'll be here watching it, so a little bit of a break off there. And there we go. Nice, simple little body. Nice, simple little nymph, but fantastic. We've really worked the treat now earlier on this season. For a little bit of thorax here, I've got some Peacock Dublin by Solerini. Okay, this is stuff we use not for all my how you doing, Dick Croak? Great to have you on. Not for all my Frenchies, but Dick got a lot of fish on Frenchies this year here up here in the north. But for this one in particular, I do. It's all I can say. It's a little different than the Spectra. This kind of Peacock Dublin Solerini. We actually, as you've seen, any of that follow us on Facebook, we got we start stocking all Solerini products here during the week. Got a massive shipment of it in there. So if anybody's looking for any Solerini products, please check us out there. A little small tibble of that one. It's just different. It's hard to explain. It's kind of a bit longer and not quite as wiry as the. How you doing, Jerry? Not quite as wiry as the Spectra Dublin can be. It's just a little bit different. A small little bit of that in behind the bead. We don't need much. So this is a lovely little nymph. Really caught a lot of fish on this at the start of the season. And I love that matte black bead. I just run that thread back through that little thorax just a little bit. Sure is, Ricky. Ricky Woods is on with us there. All eyes, always learning at this game. Yep, as I say, I've studied fly fishing, nymph fishing, the whole lot, for years. Great question, Brian. I'm going to come back to that in a second. Brian Kennedy asked a really good question. When would I switch to black beads? But I've been studying this stuff for years. Traveled the world, learning off some of the best anglers in the world, and I would be pretty much sure when I say there's no such thing as an expert in fly fishing. And I certainly wouldn't call myself an expert, because we're always learning. There's no end game here. Like, there is no final place to get and say that's it. I'm now an expert at fly fishing. I think if you think you're an expert, you stop listening, you stop learning, you stop looking, and it's a game that never stops evolving. So how you doing, Liam? Liam Long is on. It was there. So there's a lovely little Frenchie. I like to keep that thorax that scruffy, really loose and scruffy. It comes back lovely over the body when the fly is wet. But Brian Kennedy asked the question there, when would you switch to trying black beads? Really good question, Brian. My four main beads are gold, silver, copper, and black nickel. Okay, after that, in a close fifth is white. Then coming after that, metallic pink, maybe. But between those four colours, and it all depends. It all depends on the weather, the water conditions. I would switch to something like this in slightly murky water. Okay, because the silhouette, that black bead sometimes can, really, or even really low crystal clear water, because it's a very natural looking pattern because the bead blends into the body a bit. So, there's different occasions where I'd switch to it. It's kind of going through practice and being on the river. I fish, I go nymphing 7 days a week. I'm out on the river. I got the river 150 yards from the house. I go down for an hour most mornings, or I'm on the river during the day or some stage. So I'm fairly in trend of when beads are switching on, switching off. And, when black beads are working, it's either black nickel or matte black. But it's one of those top four that I'm constantly switching through quite quickly in the first 10, 15 minutes of any session. And You know, so I'm going through, you know, the beads, those 4 colours, and some days black beads work, some days they don't, and you know, same as anything else, like, you know. Absolutely, Jim. Yeah, yeah, we're like the trout every day. We wise up. Yeah, some days we're wiser than others. Anyway, but there's the first little nymph, folks. Really simple little thing. Little Frenchie. Really good. The hot chartreuse butt there is fantastic early season. That one's a 3 mil. You can tie 3.5, 2.5, whatever you can be. But that really worked well at the early part of the season. As you can see, a very simple little nymph. And a lot of my really good, effective your nymphs for your nymph and are very simple. You know, very slim, very easy to tie, and I think less is more when it comes to your nymphs to be effective nymphs. So moving on from there, we're going to move over to another. That one's going into the pot there for the winner. I'm going to tidy up a little bit here now and move a bit of stuff away. Excuse me. And of course, if anybody has any questions throughout the evening about any aspect of nymphing or something like that, Darius is on there from the Welsh team, Mark Driver and Roger Fowler. The guys are over there doing a bit of practice now at the moment for the Greyland Championships that are coming up in December. Really looking forward to that trip. Boys are getting on well today. I think they managed two fish each, was it, lads? Mark, you got one, and really good question, Robbie. So I'm just reading through the comments there, folks. Lots of comments coming in, questions, and great to see so many people commenting and questions. And if anybody has any other questions along the way, if you can't get them in, if I don't get them tonight, send me a text, send us a message during the week, call down to the shop. We're more than happy to help out and give whatever advice we have to give. So Robbie was on there asking, how do you determine what size bead to use? He struggles with this. This is a whole thing. I really need to do something on the river with you guys as regards a live show and talk to anyone that's been to my master classes. And you'll hear me talking a little bit about it later on about swing balance and contact, the importance of contact. You know, if you have contact with your beads, you can control the depth your bead is swimming at. So by being in control, I can fish a 3 mil, 4 mil, or 3.5 mil in very shallow water because once I got that contact, I drag it. I'm always dragging my nymphs. It stops them from sinking. So I can put a 3.5 mil, 3.5 mils in very shallow water where I'm just starting on the edge of the bank and drag them as soon as I think they've penetrated enough. And this is a really important point here. Not in the bottom, but on the bottom, if you get me, okay? So the nymphs are on the bottom, but they're not in the bottom. Okay, very fine line there. In the bottom means they're going to get snagged up, get dirty and stuff like that. On the bottom means they're actually on the bottom of the river, but they're riding across the top of it. Okay, so they're bouncing and hopping off the rocks and stuff like that. And once I've got that contact and start the drag, tight lining, well then they're not going to sink anymore. So, you know, the bead size is determined by what size nymph the trout want on that particular day. Now, obviously, if I'm dead sticking a bit more in a big deep hole, I need those weights to get down to that position, of course, obviously, like, you know, so it's I'm not going to say it's complicated, but there is several factors there that will influence what size bead I'm going to use on any particular day. You know, so okay, moving on to this fly, I am going to put in excuse me, folks, a jig size 16 here. Another Dahaku jig size 16. And I'm going to take out I think Sorka was at one of our master classes down the Blackwater this year. Glad you enjoyed it. And I'm going to look here for a 3 mil, 3.5 mil for 16. I see a lot of posts and conversations, and I get asked an awful lot about what's the right size bead for the right size hook. I think it's more what's the, you know, what some people like to tie large bead, small body. Some people like to tie a medium-sized bead to a medium-sized body, if you get me, with want of a better way of describing it. For me, it's the larger bead to a smaller body. But I have a general rule of thumb that on size 20s, I use 2 mil and 2.5 mil. And size 22s, I use 2 mil. 18s, I will use... On size 18s, I will use 3 mil and 2.5 mil, depending on the fly I'm trying to tie or what the look I want. When it comes to size 16s, I'm using 3 mil, but I'll also use 3.5 mil on a size 16 again, depending on what size I look. I very rarely go above a 14. Sometimes I go to a 12 for a caddis pattern or something like that. But majority of the time, 14 is as big as I need to go. And I'll put 4 mils in that. So a little bit of Kevlar on there. And we're going to go back to our cocktail yarn here somewhere. leave it or drop it. I dropped it. Bit of coq de Leon for the tail, if I can pick it up. So this is a goose biot nymph. Found it really good again throughout the entire season last year. Very effective. Not long enough, Peter. Very effective nymph. Now the only thing about this goose bite is I dyed the goose bite pickwick, so it's a pickwick colour bite, as you can see. That's it there, and I'm going to use the longer side for this. So I'm going to select off one of the fibres off that fly, and I'm going to tie it in there. And bring that thread up the body, making sure I have a nice flat level base there for that bite to form the body. Now that stuff is quite weak, folks, so you need to give that a bit of reinforcement. So a little bit of Zap-A-Gap or a little bit of lacquer. How you doing, Sean? Good stuff. Great. Sean and Andrew were down with me during the summer here, and we did a day. And so a little bit of lacquer. The reason why I use lacquer rather than, say, Zap-A-Gap is because the lacquer is a little bit slower to set than the Zap-A-Gap. Zap-A-Gap can be very quick, and that'll just give that body a little bit more of a chance to catch a few more trout. So I'm going to take that now and wind it up the body in touch and turns. Now if you're not long enough or you find that a little bit awkward, well then you can use hackle pliers there to help you wind that up. Wind it up right up to the bead for the moment, and then I'll bring the thread back down a little bit, just again to help secure in that body. Bring the thread back down. I'm going to take a little bit of I'm just reading that there, Kieran. I've recently started using a lighter to burn away next materials to dye the hook, but if it leads the head. Good question. I've seen people doing that lighter thing before. I personally don't, Kieran. I certainly can't see anything wrong with your flies. Hey, Betty Hayes, I'm with us there. I certainly haven't seen any flaws in your flies recently, Kieran. You're trying some fantastic lock style stuff there at the moment. I suppose if you are using a lighter and that colour thread, a little bit of a spot on that body. And see, because I used it, allows me to push the materials around before they set. Jim Wyler, yeah, stop doing that. That's a good answer, Jim. For thorax here, I'm going to use a little bit of muskrat. So I got a little bit of muskrat dubbing here. Love the muskrat dubbing, a lovely natural grey, really good for iron blues and stuff like this. This is an olive nymph. Very good season pattern. Springtime coming into the summer. A little bit, but I have a little bit of spectra in there, or not spectra, UV pearl in there, as you can see, a little bit of flash in there. So I'm going to just dub a little bit. I really do like the muskrat natural dubbing. I find it fantastic. Trout love it too. And there's a little bit of mixed here with a bit of just thinking about that question Kieran asked there. Good question, you know, if that's happening to you. So just dubbing that down, back down with the thread, back up again, and then I'm going to take that. I put a bit of pearl there for a thorax cover. That's Pearl Mylar number 14. Over the top, secured in. Thanks, Richie. Richie Johnson is on there with us. Secured in, lock it down, the Kevlar. This is a great nymph. This was actually really good as well, tied on a size 18 and a size 20 for dry dropper this summer. Found it fantastic. Dubbing brushed in. Brush out that lovely, muskrat's a lovely soft, but it has this lovely natural grey blue look to it. For tying olives, iron blues, all that kind of stuff, muskrat's fantastic. I use a lot of it. We have it in shop, both in Dublin and in patches. So you can make your own. So give that a little bit of a brush out to get those lovely soft fibres. Just tag in down below. Thanks, Thomas. Tom Ankertel is on with us there. Little bit of Tommy Fly number 14. As you know, I use tons of this stuff. In there, behind that bead. Taking out a little bit of Tommy Fly lacquer. Handy little bottles these. They got these little needles on them. They're small little bits of indentations on the needle, and it picks up a small little bit of lacquer. Very good for that. It's a little bit of lacquer on the trade. How you doing, James? I hope Andrew Sloan is on there. I hope you're keeping well, Andrew. And James, a little bit of lacquer on that trade, and then allows me to whip finish. I know that trade is well secured in there, that little collar. If I was to do the collar first and then put the lacquer on afterwards, there's a chance that lacquer will actually soak into that thorax, that grey thorax, and it might darken it up a little bit. So I tend to put it onto the trade and then whip finish it all in together, and it keeps everything nice and clean. And there's a lovely little olive nymph, really good again, early season nymph right into midsummer, very effective for us this year. Again, nice and simple, nothing too. Now the only thing about that is I did dye that goose pretty quick, so we don't have that available in the shop, unfortunately. But it is it was a very effective little nymph for us this year, and we got a lot of fish on it. So hope you all enjoyed that one. If you get your hands on some of that stuff or some Pickwick, we're out of Pickwick in the shop at the moment, but I have some more coming in. Dye, it's dangerous stuff, but look at it, as long as you follow all the safety regulations, safety guidelines, it'll be fine, and you can dye up some stuff yourselves. But hi Vincent, Brendan Spillane, yeah, the Tommy Fly, Neil Gleason, how's it going, Neil? Tommy Fly is fantastic. I use so much of it. Let's say it's nearly 90% of my flies at this stage. But there we go, folks. That's our first two little nymphs tonight. It's a fast kind of tie-in night tonight. Got another couple of crackers coming. Got one real interesting bug coming. I call it the Beast. It's a big, big nymph. We're going to tie that one later on. It's responsible for catching a few big trout and salmon and stuff like that. Thanks, Peter. So poetry emotional, I know about that. But glad you're enjoying the show. Hope everyone's enjoying the show. Hope everyone's having a good Saturday evening. Dave is going to be along in a little while with a trivia quiz. But for now, to have a little bit more, I'm going to really mess with your heads a little bit now with some of the talk I'm going to be talking about. And I hope you have lots of questions. And if you do, please send them on. If not even tonight, tomorrow, give us a ring here anytime, pescarifly.com. Contact us, email us, or drop into the shop, and we'll be glad to help you out. Or try and improve people's fishing. That's what we're all about, sharing and passing on the information here. We've spent years traveling the world and getting information ourselves, and we're always glad to share it and make sure everyone's happy with their systems and setups. So we're going to head down to the shop now for a pre-recorded video that I did, and looking at chest packs, leaders, or setups and all that kind of stuff, and give you some kind of an indication into the madness, the psychology that goes behind when I'm getting set up for fishing stuff. So I really hope you enjoyed. Just want to say, if there's any comments or questions, I'm still going to be here watching the same thing. So stick them up on the comments page, and I will get to them when we come back here live. So enjoy this, and I'll see you all back here in a few minutes. Thanks for watching. Hi everybody, and welcome to another Tackle Talk. So I've been asked over the last few months, or I get asked very regularly about setups, chest packs, leaders, lines, all that kind of stuff. It's a very popular question, and when we're preparing for this winter shows, a lot of people said, we'll spend a bit of time looking at setups and how do we, get set up right for the river. And it's a big thing for us here, and when we go to the river, that our setups are right, especially for tournament fishing and stuff like that. And that's what we're going to talk about here now tonight on Tackle Talk. We're going to have a look at set up my chest pack, go through all the bits that are in there, have a look at the reels, the leaders, bits of products and stuff like that you can find we find very useful when it comes to setting up for the rivers. I hope everyone's enjoying the show, of course. This is not live. I'm actually sitting upstairs watching this. So if anybody has any questions or queries, by all means, put them into the comments box, and I'll get to them as soon as we go back live time. There are a few flies in a few moments. So now, just to begin to make a point here that I want you to get to an understanding of, and I was asked about this, I mentioned it last year shows, is how I break things down when I'm looking at all aspects of my fly fishing, be it setting up, or the way I wade, or the way I net fish, or the way I set my chest pack, or the way I set my fly boxes, or whatever it may be. I break everything down into systems and processes. Okay, it's a psychology term, and a lot of sports psychologists use it. Is what system do you use to complete a process? And if you break down all aspects of your fishing into this theory, and analyze in finer detail all aspects of your fly fishing setups and stuff like that, looking at systems and processes, you will become a lot more effective, a very efficient angler indeed. And you will remove an awful lot of the problems that anglers tend to have if breaking things down and look at the finer details. A lot of the big international teams spend a lot of time focusing on those details and get them absolutely spot on. And it's something that I found very useful over the few years. An example of a system process is, the process is netting a fish, and releasing that fish. So what's the system? You analyze what the system is you use to complete that. Whether you take in too much fly line or have too much fly line out, so I have a little mark of exactly where it needs to be, so it's perfect at net every time. The process of taking nymphs out, putting nymphs back in, I have a system there for that. I take a fresh nymph out of my fly box. When I'm finished with it, it doesn't go back into my fly box. It goes into another little fly box on the front, and that's there. Little things like that. How I lay out my boxes as regards 4 mils, 3.5 mils, 2.5 mils, pheasant tails, hares ears, all that. There's a system there for all these processes. And they're a good example, and I use this an awful lot in masterclasses to get people into the understanding of what how systems and processes work. Is that if your process is to sweep the kitchen floor, and what system do you use to complete that process? You go to the cupboard, you get the brush, you go to the utility room, you get the dustpan, you sweep the dirt into a pile, and you put it into the dustpan, and you put it into the bin, and you return the utensils back to their place. That's the system you use to complete the process of sweeping the floor. And if we break everything down as much as possible, I spent a lot of the winter months, analysing where I was last year, looking at the way I have things set up, all those little different processes that we use every day in fly fishing, whether we realise it or not. There is a process for everything we do. That and I try and improve on it. I try, make it myself more efficient, make everything more organised. I am a bit of an organising freak, and it helps me when I go to tournaments or when I go fishing. I'm always fully kitted out. I'm always there. There's nothing missing. There's and I'm as efficient as possible when I'm in the river to be fishing for the maximum amount of time. So anyone that's aspiring to be competition anglers or better competition anglers, really take that theory on board, and you'll find massive improvements going forward. So what we're going to have a look at here now is our chest packs. And how I set that whole thing up. We're going to have a look at some reels, leaders, little bits of stuff, bits and pieces that we've found very useful over the few years. And I say, if anyone's got any questions, shoot them across and I'll get back to them. So for me, for my chest pack, I used the Umpka 500 litre chest pack. Find it really, really good. Now, some people like chest packs. I do. I changed it over from about 8-9 years ago and never looked back. Some people like the double-breasted chest pack. Some people like a coat. That's fine. Everybody, it's very important to use what you find comfortable, what you find useful in your day-to-day fishing. For me, it is the chest pack. This is probably one of the better ones in the market. We do have them here in store. So most of the stuff we have, we're going to talk about for the next few minutes, it's all in store. So if you want any products, or if you want to, come down to us pre-season, we'll get you kitted out, make sure we're the right chest pack. We loads of different varieties chest packs here and stuff like that, and jackets, and get your kitted out properly. So please give us a shout anytime you have any questions or anything, you want something. So this is the chest pack I use the whole time to say. Now, just before I put it on and we start talking about the contents and stuff like that, just on the back here, these come with a large backpack and a small one. Small one here I use from the Camelback, and this is basically for water. Okay, I filled that up with water. Dry mouth can be an awful problem in competitions or fishing, and hydrating is very important. So I have that zipped away there. I have the tube coming around. It fits perfectly into the chest pack. And just zipping that back up now because I need that magnet exposed for that. Comes around there, take your drink of water, and it just stops drying out stuff. Really handy thing to have. It's there out of the way. Okay, so I'm just going to put this chest pack on for a moment, and then we're going to start going through all the different bits and pieces. It just locks around like so. I find this chest pack quite good. It's quite tight enough to the chest. Now, one of the downsides of chest packs is you can't see your feet when you're waiting. Okay, so it does affect you that way a little bit. That's probably people that don't use chest packs is a lot for a lot of that reason. Now, I don't mind. I don't mind it. A bit loose. A bit of running I'm doing is after. taking a few pounds off. But I don't mind. Okay, so you do a very little visibility down to your feet. So if you're if you're dodgy on the feet or in rocky ground, it can be a little bit of a hindrance. But for the benefits of it, I think it outweighs that, and I'm so used to it now. I get you. But this chest pack does sit quite tight, and I still have a bit of visibility down there to that will be for where the spaces I'm going to be wading into. So it takes a bit of adjustment getting used to it. Okay, so we'll just start here on the outside of the pack first before we go into pockets. Okay, I got a debarber here and pliers. Okay, important tool to have. There's scissors on there as well. That's a very useful tool. It's on a zinger, as you can see. Everything's attached to a zinger. Sits in there right neatly and tidy. Here I got my nippers with a little cleaning for cleaning out eyes and stuff like that. Something, again, a very useful tool. I find the stuff that you really are going to use a lot has to be very accessible. Okay, there's no point having your nippers or your pliers buried down in the bottom under fly boxes and stuff like that. Okay, so I have all the stuff that I'm going to use regularly, constantly be using, sitting out in the front. Now I like everything to be compact because I'm running through rivers, down on my hands and knees, crawling around the place, whatever, in tournaments. I don't want anything outside hanging off. Okay, so you won't see any tippet coils or anything like that. I don't use them. Never really liked them. And just me personally, I know loads of people use them, and top competition anglers use them. I have a different little system for that I use. But that's just me. Okay, whatever suits you is always very important to remember. So basically, going back to that point, everything has to be accessible. Everything has to be. So in these two front pockets here, these two front net pockets, I have stuff that I use constantly. Okay, so I want it quick, accessible, not be rooting for it. Because you do become lazy. And I'm guilty of that too. Feck it, I won't put on any more floating it's down. I can't find it in the bottom of the box. I won't put on air, it'll do grand. So I keep everything that I really need fairly exposed. So here I got some of the Piscari Fly Fuller's Earth mud. Really good stuff, really fine mud. That's there constantly for dry fly fishing and stuff like that. In there beside it, then I got my Dry Magic. Okay, that's what I always use for my floatants, for my dries. Dry Magic. Now there's loads of other really good floatants. I have some stuff here beside me. You've Up High, you have your Gink. These are all good floatants. They're all available in our shop. And Dry Magic, we're actually out of it at the moment, but we'll get some more back in before the season starts. But Dry Magic is the one that I use the whole time. I've got that there in that little pocket there. I come over to this side and I've got my Scarfar's wax. Okay, for your nymphing, it's a must. Okay, you really got to have it for visibility, especially on those grey, when you're fishing silver water or grey water. Visibility on those indicators can be very hard to really pick them up, and your eye fatigue and straining. So Scarfar's wax is I find very useful. Use a lot of it. Comes in a ton of colours. We have it in store again, and that sits there because it's easy, accessible, and I can get to it very quickly. Okay, here I got a little clip, as you can see, a little bull clip here, and I use that for carrying a second rod. Okay, so the rod sits down here into a little rubber band here on the bottom. The butt of the rod sits into that little rubber band. It comes up there, and that just clips in, standing straight up, out of the way, nice and tidy, won't move, won't dislodge or anything like that, and that's how I carry a second rod. Okay, if I want another one, I can put the same over here, and I can often fish with two rods up out. Okay, and that's what I use for that. So that's the basic outside of my chest pack. I see nothing shaky, nothing loose or wrangly, and that's the way I like it. So there's nothing bouncing around the place. Let's go into the front pocket here now first. So I always have my tippets in the front pocket, and I have my fly box in the back pocket. These pockets are quite big, as you can see. You can throw a lot of stuff in there if you want. Now, organization here is the key for me. Okay, I'm a freak when it comes to organization, so I like to keep things as organized as possible. So I do clean it out quite regularly and stuff like that. Now, just here in the front as well, something that I don't have hanging out here, but I have it on a zinger also, is my Amadou patch. Brilliant stuff for drying dry flies. An absolute must if you're going dry fly fishing. I have that there. If I'm on dries, that will be the only thing that'll hang out. So that'll sit out there like that. I'll zip that back up, and it is there now for me time for doing my dry flies. Okay, if I'm not on the dries, it's tucked away in the pocket. Okay, so if I'm on, you're in the pocket. All right, so that's there. Everything's attached to zingers and stuff like that, so nothing can fall out or fall away. So let's just have a look at the two little back pockets here that I have in this. So in one pocket here, I have my foam spools. That'll have pre-made leaders and nymphs on it if tournaments, or it could have a dry dropper setup. So if I break off or crack off, I go to this, unwind, flies not attached, do it the night before, bang it on, I'm back fishing within seconds. Okay, always have 2 or 3 of those stuff there. In this other little pocket over here to the side, I've got a couple of leaders, a couple of tapered leaders, bits of couple of nymphing leaders, backup leaders basically, that just if I need just a bit of backup material in my chest pack, if there's an accident happens or something like that, I have a foil. Okay, very important. Actually, I took off the zinger off that one. That's normally on a zinger similar to the I actually need a zinger for something bank fishing there the other day, but similar to the Armadillo, it's always hanging on the side. So little foil, really handy. We got those in store. hook file, absolutely super important. If you're fishing there nymphing, those nymphs are bumping along the rocks and one gets blunt and you bump off 2 fish, it only takes a microsecond. Zip, zip, quick foil, hook a sharp, get back fishing, or change that hook, of course. It's either whichever. So a little foil there is very important. Then I got my tippets. I got my few spools of tippet that I'm using for that. Now I'll have a bag maybe on the bank of the river during a tournament or something like that with all backup gear, backup tippets and stuff like that. But let's say I was grayling fishing the last day over in the Welsh D, and this is what I was using. So I had me 3 or 4 sizes of Shogun. I love Shogun tippet. Really good good diameter versus break and strain kg and stuff like that. I've been using it for years. Like everyone has their preference and everyone has their favorites and their confidence in whatever they do, and that's absolutely fine. For me, I do like the Shogun. We've available here again, all sizes and stuff. And that's there in the front of my chest back in that large pocket, and that's the way I have my tippets. It's the way I'm used to doing it. It's the way I like it. I just zip it up if I want it. I open it, it's there, and I just zip it back up. It's not hanging on the outside. I'm not mad about that, okay? That's just me personally. All right, so that's the front chest pack. That's where the kind of tippets, leaders are, and 1 or 2 extra little tools that I only use an odd time, and I don't have them directly out in the front of the chest pack. I then go to my back pocket, which is, again, you can see, quite a large pocket. You can take quite a bit of flies in here now if you want, So I have 2 fly boxes in here since the last day I was on the Welsh D. I have my generic nymph box, okay? That thing there is my working box. It's all the nymphs, as you can see, for a season. So that's a working box. And then I'll always have a competition box with me as well, depending on the competition. I tie a new competition box for every competition I go to. This is a working box. Some of these flies have been used once, twice, some not been used. And this is why my general day-to-day fishing is used for nymphing, is a working box like this. But when it comes to tournaments, I'll always have a fresh box of nymphs going to every tournament. So I'll sit down and I'll tie the 100 nymphs or 150 or 60 or whatever nymphs I feel I need from practice, and have them all brand new. I'll be doing it maybe 2 or 3 weeks prior to the competition, and I'll have that box in here then as well. I might have a box of dries. I'm gonna have a box of streamers. In this chest pack, you will fit at least 3 of these, no problem. Okay, no problem whatsoever. There's 900 flies in that. So then here's my grayling box, as you see. So this is the box that I've been working on. This is going to be a competition box. So this one is all fresh. There's nothing in here that'll be fished. It's all fresh. And all the patterns that are in here, there is similar patterns in this one, because this is the working box. So these will all be fresh. This will be for the Welsh D, for the Grayling Championships that's coming up in a couple of weeks. Really looking forward to that one. And that's in there too. Come competition day, those 2 will be the only boxes there. This box will cover all the tournament, but this is just there just in case something happens. Okay, I'll have them locked in as well on a zinger kind of thing. All right, so that's where your fly boxes go. I got some pockets in here then as well with some extra little bits and pieces that only need rarely. A spare lighter. Always good to have a spare lighter. So I have one of those there. I have a little pouch, a little bag here, sealed waterproof bag, and I got some kitchen roll in it. Okay, small bit of kitchen roll. Really handy little thing to have for drying dry flies, or just a piece of tissue paper if you need. It's always a good thing to have, so I always keep a piece of that there. Here I got all my permits in a sealed lock bag. Very important to always have your membership to all your clubs, or the what you call it, waters that you're fishing. The guest waters that you're fishing, have your permits. I'd always keep them in this little pack, and that's kept there in the yoke. I have a thermometer to check water temperatures. Good idea to keep an eye on water temperatures, record them. It gives you a great idea of kind of what might be happening on that day, or it's a good way to record. And then other days when the water temperatures are similar, you'll know, it gives you an idea where to start. Okay, always have a spare pen or 2. Okay, permanent marker, small permanent marker, and a spare pen. Good for scorecards, taking notes, things like that. I have a measuring tape. It's a Sowers measuring tape. Okay, small, light, but always good if you get a nice trout and you want to take a measurement. Okay, we don't keep any trout. I actually very rarely even photograph trout anymore. I just take the hook out and release the fish as quick as possible. But if you do get one very nice large fish or grayling or rainbow or something, it's nice to have a tape measure, lay it there in the net beside the trout, and you can take a nice, clean, quick picture and put that fish back. Because like most days now, I don't even take pictures very rarely anymore. Just another one here or there in the net, and then release that fish as quick as possible. So that's my basic setup for my chest pack. I have everything there I'm going to need. I find it very efficient. I've spent time thinking about it, and I constantly improve it and change things and work things. One other little thing that I have here is this little fly box here on the top, okay? And it's very important. So that's my working box and things like that. So when we're changing nymphs, or when I'm even getting ready for a tournament and it's going to be fast and hectic fishing, You know, I will stock this little box with nymphs. Really great little box. Little magnetic box, as you can see. Got some foam. Magnetic on the inside, so you can see dries and stuff now. A little bit untidy there at the moment. It'll get cleaned up shortly. You know, it'll hold a nice little section, nymphs there, stuff like that. And dries and keep everything clean and tidy. We have those in store here. They're €15, but very, very useful little box for the top of your chest pack. It does come, as you can see, with a little pin on it. Okay, but what I did with my one is I actually put some extra Velcro on the back of that, stuck some extra Velcro onto it, and then there is a Velcro patch on the top of your chest pack, and the Velcro just helps keep it there, just to be safe than sorry. Okay, not saying the pin is not sufficient, I'm sure it would be, but it's far more steady when you're running and jumping around the place that it doesn't come loose. Okay, so they're there in store. You can find them on our store. Um, if anybody ever has any questions or needs something, please feel free to give us a shout. Contact us right here. So that's my basic chest pack right there, right now, all laid out. That's what I feel I need most days. Everything to say is neat and tidy, tucked away. Everything should be on zingers and stuff like that. Keep things safe so you don't lose it. Okay, going from there, then we're just going to have a quick look at the net. Okay, because I got the chest pack on, I'm going to have a quick look at it, and then we'll move on to the leader stuff. Okay, this is the Marty or the Mavardi net that we use. We sell them in store here as well. Our competition net. You got about an 8-inch handle on that there, which is plenty fine. I have 2 magnets on it, as you can see. One here, one up here. This one up here is fixed permanent. Okay, that doesn't move. There's 2 little Allen keys underneath that makes that absolutely rock steady. Okay, I got those off Eddie Dana, Fly Fisher's World. That's where I picked up those. I'm sure if you look, we actually don't have them ones in store now. They're hard enough to find. We do have these other ones, these super strong magnets. And I have 2. And sure if you can see that, but I have 2 ties there holding that on. So it's not wobbly either. For your magnets, you know, you want to get it fairly steady. If it's too loose and wobbly, you're very slow. So when we look at the system and process of netting a fish, part of that process is putting your net back on, the transition from releasing that fish to getting back fishing. And I see so many anglers struggling with this. And you know, it's about sitting down looking at the way your net is set up, about how you set up your magnets, things like that. How good are the magnets, you know, and then being able to very quickly get that net from being in your hand, putting the fish, to being straight up onto your back. Like so. Simple. Because I'm so used to doing it. For one, I practice that. You know, I'd actually practice it before tournaments and stuff like that. But because that's fixed and the magnet here on the back of my yoke is always the same position, it's quite strong. So it goes up every time very quickly into that position. I don't have to. The chest pack's a bit loose on me because I haven't got my jackets and stuff on, so it moves away. So it's, you know, it makes you very efficient and completes that process. The system completing that process is very effective, you know. So it's just up there straight every time I find it. Now, what I have then, this is the way I like my net. Some people like the handle coming up over the top, things like that. Everyone has their net set up their own way, and that's very important. Again, whatever makes you comfortable. I'm just used to doing it this way. Okay, so if I turn around, you can see the handle of the net is a little bit offset. Okay, so sticking out here to my left hand, it's my left hand that's going to net every time, and it's always there. I can just quickly grab that all the time. It's not stuck down the back, or it's not up the top. I'm not reaching for anything. It's always there because the magnet's a little bit offset on the rim of the net. So it's just quick tug down, and then I'm straight away fishing. Okay, so setting up your net is very important. In the bottom of the net, I have this orange tape. It's double. It's basically, it's just a high vis orange tape, and we put an agent in between the two of them and set it. And that is a 20 centimeter spacer. That basically, if I'm in the river and I'm fishing for 20 centimeter fish and I have to go to a controller and there's a chance that fish is not going to be 20 centimeter, rather than wasting the time of going into the bank of the river, the controller telling me, sorry, Peter, that's only 6.5 inches or whatever it may be. I can check it on the bottom of that net. Okay, so it's directly on the bottom. The fish sits into it. It will give you a good guidance whether you're going to make that effort to go into the controller or not. So, you know, for tournament anglers, something like that can save you an awful lot of time and makes you more efficient. Okay, again, that's looking at the whole netting process. Okay, so I hope you're getting some understanding what I'm talking about, the system of netting and stuff like that. So this is the system I use to complete the process of nets and netting fish and stuff like that. I got a net, I got a bungee cord here on it, as you can see. That's attached to my, that does be attached up here to my chest pack. And then, so if I drop the net, or if I have to drop the net, now it's not a long bungee cord. If I have to drop the net, it's not going to get sucked away down the river. It'll just hang by my side, and I can just pick it up then if I need the left hand to do something else, strip a bit of line in, if the fish have made a second run or whatever. It's there, so it's easy. This other magnet I have here is basically, so it'll clip on here. It just clips on up here underneath the chest pack. I have another magnet here. It's actually off at the moment because I've just used a brand new chest pack. But It's normally clipped up here, and that's just again if I'm on shallow water for fast fishing. An awful lot of time when I'm nymphing, that's where my net is, in my left hand. Okay, I got my right hand, the way I kind of coach as well. Right hand is for fishing, left hand is for netting. Okay, so you train your right hand how to fish properly. You've also got to train your left hand how to fish. Okay, you've got to train that left hand how to fish, how to be fast, like netting fish. Sometimes the smaller fish tend to come through the air if you're really fast, aggressive, and you've got to use it. And in practice, I net 99.9% of all my fish, be it 4 inches, 6 inches, or whatever it may be. Every fish to net, because you're training your hand, you're practicing that process. You're getting your systems right, and you're not going to get those things right if you don't practice. So I net all my fish, and plus it's good for fish safety. Okay, net your fish. So if I'm fast nymphing and things are going good, the net never leaves my left hand. Okay, because I've got the lentil line out. I don't need to adjust it. I've figured it all out, and I'm just going through the motions of doing the same nymphing technique, going through fast, shallow water, whatever. And so an awful lot of time you'll see me fishing with the actual net in my hand. Okay, good strong net, ultralight, very fine mesh on the bottom, which I like because it stops the nymphs from getting caught in the bottom of it. Okay, so the nymphs don't get caught as much. Again, looking at the whole system and process of getting the right kind of net. Now we've lots of nets here in the shop. You see some of them on the window there behind us. But so it's a good net. I use it. I like it. Nice, big and wide. Very effective, and that's kind of how how I set up my net. Okay, so again, you do the stuff that you are really confident in using and setting things up. But analyze it. Make sure you're efficient and effective. I'll take that off there now for a moment. And what we're going to look at then quickly before we go back up is our reel and our leaders and stuff like that. Okay, so I love using the lever action reels. Okay, a lot of comp guys use them. They're all about speed and efficiency. Again, say this hand, the right hand is for fishing, left hand is for netting. So when I'm fishing, I have that lever action, which helps me keep everything neat and tidy. If I'm out and I get a fish, get him into the net. Might have a bit of slack out there, especially if I'm dry dropper or dry fly fishing. Zip, it's clean. I'm gone to the controller. Otherwise, you've got to either reel it in, or you've got to drag all that line with you, and it's going to get into a mess when you're waiting at the bank of the river for the controller to measure your fish, and you're losing time. Okay, so it's really handy. I find I got used to them years ago, and some people love them, some people don't. One downside is if you're going after big fish, they can cause you a problem because of the drag systems on it. It's hard to adjust the drag. Okay, but efficiency, effectiveness for tournament angling, 20 centimeter fish, it's a good job. Okay, so there. So what I've got on this then, just quickly to talk you through the leader setup that I actually use here. Okay, so this is one now I've been using for a while. I have a bit of the bicolor, Hannick bicolor on that one, pink and yellow. Okay, I like that color. It suits my eyes well, which is very important. There is loads of colors and different types of indicators out there. We've got Sandro Solerini indicator material, really good. Got that here in loads of diameters. We have the Hannick bicolor here, loads of diameters. Different color Hannick stuff. We got lots of different kind of indicators, spiral indicators, drop indicators here in shop. And it's important that you are able to see that indicator. So whatever indicator you decide to use, just because Peter Driver's on here and I say it's got to be 0.20 indicator by Hannick June, blah blah blah. It mightn't suit you. It mightn't suit the river you're fishing. It mightn't suit your eyes. If you can't see it, you need to change it. You need to adjust it, put on the wax, do whatever has to be done. You've got to see that indicator. The indicator's there for two reasons. One, to possibly detect a take. And I say possibly because you don't get all your takes. You don't get all your fish waiting for that indicator to judge. Sometimes it's sensitivity that will get those fish when you're tight lining. And more importantly, it shows you where your nymphs are tracking down. Okay, so that indicator will show me when I'm fishing lots of little pocket water exactly where my nymphs are tracking. Okay, because I want to get them into those tiny little spots in behind stones, down the front of rocks, whatever it may be. I need to know where those nymphs are tracking. If I can't see that indicator, I have no way of telling that. Okay, so I have an indicator here section. It's about a meter, not even a meter long. And what I have on here then is a perfection loop. I use a perfection loop for doing my loops. So I have a little perfection loop there. I'm not a lover of micro rings. Okay, they're really good, don't get me wrong, and I have used them. I'm not putting them down, they're absolutely good, but it's just me personally. I like the perfection loop. Okay, a little bit of give there, especially if I'm using ultrafine tippets and stuff like that. Well, then I find the micro ring there's no give. Okay, so I'm not a great lover of micro rings. When I come up here and start joining another section leader, you can see I have left out a tag in there. That's important to leave that out because that helps with visibility too. Okay, you can gink that up, you can mucilin that all up, and it'll help visibility. Okay, especially on a windy day. People often say to me, how do you nymph on a windy day, holding it up and the light line is getting blown all over the place? I'd say put on the wax, put on mucilin, and drop the whole lot to the top of the water. Take the wind out of play and still tight line but all the tippet and everything's on top of the water. And, you know, the likes of that will stick up or have high visibility, and you see that twitch will then strike into your fish. So just drop everything onto the water. Use springs, coils, and stuff like that will help him win too. Okay, so from there up, then I got a bit of gold strain. So that there is 0.20. That's 0.20. Okay. Now I know a lot of people talk about 0.18, and there's an awful lot of anglers that are using 0.18. That's fine. For me, 0.18 on my leader system is just a bit too light. It causes me too many problems. I tried it last year, caused me a bit too many problems. Now I can fish it and stuff like that, but in general, if I'm fishing Irish rivers and stuff like that, I will go to 0.20. Okay, that's what I use. That was just what makes me more effective, and I think it outweighs kind of the ability to fish that. So here I got a bit of 0.22 strain. Okay, that's 0.22 strain or 0.20. That's 0.20 as well, actually. And that's just for a color variation. So I use a high intensity pink, or I use strain or something else there just to have a color variation going down, because sometimes I'll see the strain better than I'll see the Hannick stuff or whatever it may be. I come up along then into my main running line kind of the leader as such, and that is 0.22, 0.22 or 0.25 Trabuco. Okay, straight through. I do taper it down sometimes, a little bit of a taper there sometimes if I'm fishing on a breezy day and I want a little bit of more of an aggression in the turnover. I will taper down a little bit, but that's basically it. So the whole thing is roughly around about 14 to 15 foot, 420 centimeters long on average, and then include my two nymphs. From that point, well then that's my twice the length of my rod. That's generally what I fish. Okay. Now, when it comes to that's the Trabuco stuff, we have that in store, lots of it there. Really good stuff for running line. A little bit of a give and a little bit of stretch, and very strong. And you know, you get it's while it's supple, it still sits very hard. You know, you get great sensitivity off it. Okay, great transfer of vibrations up down into the rod and stuff like that. So it is really really good stuff. A lot of guys using that. Very simple leader setup makeup. From there, then just quickly, you know. Where from my perfection loop, then I have a rule of thumb of when I'm setting up my nymphs, and I'm not going to go into this massively because I could be here for an hour talking to you about weight balance, swing balance, and all that kind of stuff. You know, balancing rods and all that stuff. Some of it's a bit gimmicky, but like swing balance is absolutely massive when it comes to effective euro nymphing and contact with those nymphs and accelerating the entry of the nymph into the water to get the best out of it, to be as efficient as possible. Swing balance is something that you need to do some work on. Okay, I'm not going to talk about too much about swing balance here because I could be here for an hour. But anyone who's been into my master classes or stuff like that, I do talk an awful about the importance of swing balance. So swing balance is your whole setup. It's the whole system you use for casting. It's the process then that you're completing using those systems of punching out those nymphs, be it small nymphs, weight nymphs. And a very important part of good effective swing balance is having the weight, that weight in a similar position every time when you're fishing. Because once you start adjusting those weight differences as regards to distance between the weights, well then the whole swing balance interacts completely different. So I would be a real freak on that kind of thing. When I'm setting up, I try to be as generic as possible, regardless of the depth of the river. So for me, perfection loop out in my right or left arm, full stretched out to the opposite shoulder blade, is the distance between my perfection loop on my indicator to my dropper. And then from my dropper knot, the full length of one of my arms, the full length of one of my arms to its shoulder blade, not the opposite one, is the distance between my two nymphs. Keep it like that the whole time. Simple, effective. That's what I do. I don't adjust that. I don't go up and down. Yes, you're going to chop a few nymphs off and it's going to change by an inch or two, but that's my generic distance between my, and I'm very efficient with that. You know, I've practiced that for a long time. I've fished that way for a long time, and I can be very accurate. I can very, you know, because you fish with that weight balance and swing balance and everything is set up very similar for a long time, you become very sensitive in the hand. I really can detect tiny little takes, even if there's a tiny piece of blade of grass or a piece of rubbish on one of my nymphs micro. I know the second I go to swing that nymph that something's off. Something's not right because the swing balance has been upset, and I will remove it or clean it up or do whatever may have to be done to be as efficient and effective as possible. That's a real short. I might do a full program on swing balance sometime or the importance of it. Or if anyone ever comes to a masterclass, you'll hear me going on an awful lot more about the importance of swing balance for being sensitive, for being very effective, for being very efficient, for being very accurate with your casting, especially, you know, when you're fishing with no fly line out, long light rods, typical Irish windy weather, stuff like that, you know, and you really need to put that nymph on a penny, you know, 20, 25 foot away. Well, then, you know, you need that accuracy, but most importantly for contact. The three most important words for me, Euro nymphing and tight lining, is contact. If you don't have contacts with those nymphs the whole way through the cycle of the swing and the entry and the swimming of the nymphs back down to you, for me, you're going to lose I'm just, you're going to not detect those really subtle takes. So have a think about that one. If anyone's got more questions, please bang them in there. I'll try my best to answer them. Or say call down to the shop if you're here someday, and we can, help you get a little bit more of an understanding. When it comes to the fly line, then I'm not as fussy about the fly line. It's got to be around about 0.55 of diameter. Definitely, I have a little exposed loop on that there, very, very neat, as you can see. You can just expose that great detail there now, but a little exposed loop there. Make them yourself or whatever. I tend to cut off the big heavy ones, and you can just do a little exposed braid loop on that one there, and that just attaches everything nice and neatly. Leader to that. When it comes to fly lines, I think you got loads of options. We got loads of options here, Yoke. That actually fly line that I use, they're all our own Piscari fly lines. We're stocking at the moment. We have a blast of come back in, but you got loads of other ones. Airflow, it's 0.60, a little bit heavy, but this still works. You got Hanik, you got Duhaku, with the new Solarini. We just have to get a massive order of Solarini products in there, fabulous products. So you've lots of options there for fly lines. Or you can go straight mono if you're into mono fishing. Now, we can't use them in tournaments, but you can go all mono. You can load up that fly reel with your Trabuco and just go on mono. Me personally, there's a couple of reasons why I like a fly line. One, I like the feel of it in my hand. So when I'm nymphing, that fly line is going up to the second, third eye, fourth eye, whatever it may be, and I like the feel of that fly line in my hand. When I'm setting that hook, when I'm getting that initial play on the fish to get control, I find sometimes that using small light mono and stuff like that, it can be very slippy, and I don't feel 100% control there. So I like the feel of the fly line in the hand when I'm fishing. Another thing as well, I talked about, the netting process and stuff like that in the system. As part of my netting system is that I know that when that joint there is just above my hand, that is the perfect, just to lift that fish straight into the net under no pressure. Okay, so that's just above the hand. So normally once I stripping in and playing in a bit of a fish, once I feel that not hit this hand, I know that's the perfect. I can go for it. So there's no guessing. There's no rod way back or fish way out in front of you. It's every time, so quick. And if you were practicing that and get that perfect, you're so quick at the net. You never miss a fish, and very rarely will you drop a fish to the net. If he's going to come off, he's going to come off during the playing part of it. But once you feel that not come, it's straight in every time. The left hand knows what it's doing, the right hand knows what it's doing, and you're very effective at netting. So it helps me there. Okay, it also helps me on any given day in relation to swing balance. Is what am I at my most efficient as regards the distance of the nymphs I'm putting those away. So let's say if I have that not up to the fourth eye, that's the way the fish want today, the conditions allow me to fish at that distance, whatever it may be. Well, then when I'm say going in with a fish and I'm coming back out, I'm not spending 3 or 4 casts fishing really closely. I'm getting back to that. So the transition between catching a fish and getting back to being effective fishing is very quick, because I know, all right, I need to strip that, get that line back up to the fourth eye very quickly. First cast in, back in, exactly to fishing same system and same way and same presentation that I was fishing beforehand. When I caught that fish. So I like the fly line on it. Some people like monofishing. Monofishing can be very good, but unfortunately in tournaments we're not allowed to use it, so I tend not to use it. And that's a quick synopsis or a quick breakthrough of our setups. And there's lots more. I could spend a month here on shows. So I hope you're going to ask loads of questions. Please do. I'm going to go back upstairs now. Well, I'm going to hand this back up to myself upstairs and get a couple more nymphs done. I hope you've enjoyed this little snapshot into systems and processes. I hope it's given you loads of food for thought for the winter months of setting things up and being efficient, and and an awful lot of I'm an app guy, cast instructor, and I do a lot of coaching and stuff like that. And an awful lot of people come with problems, different problems. This keeps happening to me. How can I stop it? And an awful lot of it is self-inflicted. Because of lack of preparation, lack of thought, lack of, looking at systems and processes. So I hope, if you take one little thing from this clip is that, looking at your setups, really analysing the finer details of how we fish and how we approach things and, how we set ourselves up. Well, then that'll give you a better, more enjoyable experience next season going forward. So I hope you've really enjoyed it, listening to me rabble on. And say, if you have any questions, please shoot them across. We're going to go up now and tie a few more flies. I'm just going to try and find the button here to say stop recording. And there it is. So enjoy the rest of the show, folks. I hope you've enjoyed that. If you have any questions, please feel free or drop into the shop here anytime, and we'll help you out as best we can. Thanks for watching. So there we go. We're back. We're back live here, folks. I hope you all found that interesting. A little bit of a run through of setups and how I set things up and the approaches, excuse me, that I use when it comes to organization and stuff like that from a gear. It's always been something that I've worked hard on and spent time on. And I think I try and encourage most people to do it. Great to see so many comments up there. Thanks, Terry Phillips. But Jerry, you asked about building leaders. No, I don't build leaders at home on the bank of the river unless it's an actual must. I build the leaders at home and have them all pre-made. A leader, sometimes one leader can last me an entire season because the more I find, the more I use it, the more supple it becomes, the more I become used to it, the taper that I build into, whatever it may be. So they're all pre-built at home. As regards having two rods, Jerry, you know, yeah, it's a tournament thing. We're allowed to have, most tournaments say in a national basis in Ireland, three rods. Good man, James. In a national championship somewhere our Leinster finals, we're allowed to have three rods set up. So it depends on the river I'm fishing, depends on the bait I have. Sometimes I have to carry two rods with me. Sometimes I carry three. If we're in the Worlds or Europeans, there can be an awful lot more rods involved. So that is something that we have to practice and be prepared for. But if for pleasure fishing, if you have the right kind of setup, you can, build a setup that's well. Thanks, Patrick. Sorky, yeah, no problem. Give us a shout anytime down here, and we'll get you sorted out with a new setup. But you can build a setup that will work for your nymphing. You be able to transfer quickly to the dry dropper. It depends on the way you build the rod and where you're fishing and the kind of what's your rivers and stuff like that. But get in touch with us if there's something like that you want. Thanks, Dennis. Yeah, I spend a lot of nights sitting, looking at my chest packs and things like that, and trying to figure out how I go wrong, or where I went wrong last year, an awful lot of times like that, and trying to improve and just trying to get a real good understanding. I hope he's all got the theme I was trying to get to there. That I'm not preaching, but I'm trying to just get a thought process in your heads and stuff like that. Dave Donovan's on there, folks. Question time is coming up. Thanks, everyone. Hope everyone's enjoying the night. We got two great nymphs coming up here now for you. I'm going to rattle through them. Hope everyone's enjoying their Saturday evening and having a good time. If you haven't hit that share button, please do. That will enter you into the competition on Wednesday to win the nymphs from tonight. Thanks, Robert. So hit the share button there. We appreciate everyone's shares and comments and support on our social media. For small business like ourselves, it's our bread and butter, folks, and it's very much appreciated. All your comments and shares and stuff like that. So in the voice here now. So we're going to do a little nymph here now. I've got a standard 301 size hook here. Great stuff, Colin. I got a standard 301 hook here, right, which is technically a dry fly hook. It's a Jahaku 301, but I do use a lot of 301s, the fine wire hooks for my, say, standard nymphs. Not all nymphs need to be tied on jig hooks. And we do tend to, and I'm as guilty as anyone else, to tie everything on jigs. Everything's jig hooks. Sometimes it can be the difference between catching and not catching. When jig hooks and your fish are coming short and you're bumping off fish, so what the hell is wrong? You've got sharp hooks, you've the whole lot, you're in good water, and it can be just simply switching because the nymph will swim differently, okay? So it's important to tie some nymphs on standard hooks well, and I use the 301. Yes, it's a light wire hook. Yes, there's a risk of straightening that hook if you're fishing on heavy rods, but if you're fishing on the likes of 2/8 and you're using Trabuco and stuff like that, here's Dave. So who is credited for inventing the pheasant tail nymph? Good question, Dave. Especially with the night that's in this night you're nymphing. Thanks, Bernard. So it's important to mix it up a bit and tie some stuff on some standard hooks too. For the tail here, I'm putting a little bit of cocktail on. So this is a two-tone nymph. So we tied a two-tone dry fly a couple of weeks ago, and I told us that I was going to be coming up with a two-tone, a little bit too much cocktail on there for my liking. I'm going to take out a couple of strands. Grant. So I was told us we were going to do the nymph version of that dry fly. Thanks, Sorka. There's loads of stuff I could spend hours here talking about, and those people that have been to the masterclass and whatever, we'll be running loads of masterclasses again now this year down the Blackwater with Jason Cochran. But I'm very good at babbling on, as you all know by now. And I've done a lot of, I've spent a lot of time thinking and researching and educating myself in the area of urine and stuff like that over the years. And I can tend to babble on a little bit, but you know, it is a lot of theory that can be very effective to your fishing. So I'm using a primrose thread here by Semperfly for this fly, and just gonna whip finish that off there now for a second and take that away. By the way, it's a size 14, a very effective nymph on a size 16. Size 14 is a little bit bigger. I'm just reading thanks for that, Jonas. There, Jonas is just on there. But now, what I'm just adding in here is some hen's body quill. Okay, same as we did that night for that dry fly. Hen's body quill. I'm not going the whole way back, but I'm going back far enough just to leave a bit of that primrose exposed at the butt, and then building the body up going forward. And basically what I have then, as you can see, is a nice two-tone effect on that nymph. So it's the primrose going up to a lovely olive. The more body quill I add, the darker it gets slightly, and adds a lovely tone to that nymph, as you can see. Lovely natural tone sweeping right through that nymph. This was a message in there from Terry, and I want to just read it. And it's just there's a lot of messages coming in there now. Yeah, absolutely, Terry. Yeah, I totally agree. So Terry says everyone who puts a new rib or thorax on one starts calling it something different. Absolutely, yeah. Whip finish off that. Take it away. The body quill, hen's body quill, and then take back our primrose, or you can switch to Kevlar now, whichever you prefer. To complete the fly, we're going to use a little bit again of the. No, actually, I'm wrong. Going to go switch to a pheasant tail. We're going to do a pheasant tail thorax cover here. Select quite a bit of pheasant tail. So we've got about 10 to 12. 10 to 12. Let's go back here into the comments here. Brian Kennedy won the quiz. Well done, Brian. Brian, you're going to win a Basis bead mat. Okay, lovely bead mats by Betas, because tonight's your nymphing. Really handy when you're tying nymphs. Pour out your beads onto the base bead mat, saves them rolling all over the table and dropping on the ground and stuff like that. Got a Piscari fly sticker in there for you too, Brian. We'll be in touch with you in the next few days, tomorrow at some stage, and we will organise to get that off to you. Okay, so when I'm tying in a nymph like this, and I'm going to use the thorax cover pheasant tail, and then I want to fold back the legs to create that kind of leggy look on the side of the pheasant tail, normally I go just a little bit longer than the body, as you can see. Just a little bit longer than the body. That allows to get the perfect proportions for them, exactly the way I like it as regards those tails coming back. Here I got a little bit of olive squirrel dubbing. A little bit of olive squirrel, nice and spiky. And I'm going to add that in there. Nice and loosely, run the thread through it. Pull over my thorax cover. Trap it down. One turn's enough to trap it down there to start, folks, okay? And then I'm going to divide these in half. If you put 2 or 3 turns in there, it can make things a little bit more difficult trying to divide your tips in half. And sometimes that can happen too, but that's okay. We can just go back and do it again. Keep a bit of pressure on the thread. And then once I think I've got it close enough, I'm holding one side and then I put in a second turn of thread. And I start trapping those little legs out to the side. And then I hold the other side out where I want it. And another turn of thread. And that gets those little legs going back there nicely just behind the bead. Well, do it in a second. Get some taper back. Take another little pinch of your dubbin. put it in there. Very small pinch, just enough to get those, to hide that little bit of thread work we did behind the bead, and get those little legs tapering back. And they're a nice length, as you can see by that fly. Lovely olive, very nice natural, very nice natural pattern, really effective. I find this very good for fish that are well fished over. Yeah, it is, Dennis. It's a really nice body. Very simple. The primrose, I love primrose. I love primrose thread. I know what it is. It's just for natural flies. A simpler fly primrose is fantastic. I think the first time I came across primrose thread was Lure Flash. Had a very good primrose. Can't get anymore. Excuse me. Hi there, Delaney. But Lure Flash, and I remember being out with Gwilym Hughes a few times in the D and stuff, and we were in Sweden for the World Championship that time, and Gwilym was with us, and we were using a lot of primrose and stuff, and it was a lovely colour trade. But I use it, but it's not really, you're not really getting a full picture there. I'll take a closer photograph of that fly tomorrow. But it's a lovely tapered colour to that body. I call it a two-tone nymph, like the two-tone dry fly. Very natural, lovely little legs going back there. Probably sitting a little bit too high for my exact likings. You want to kind of get him down a little bit tighter to the body, but still a very effective little nymph, and has been really good. Yeah, Robert. And you know, sometimes, folks, it's good to be natural. Sometimes you don't need the hot spots. I think Jonas tapped on that there last week as well. You know, sometimes hot spots are, you know, you don't need the hot spots. You need to go natural. Something like that is a really good fish catcher for me. And can be very, very effective in low, clear water, early season when the olives are hatching, something like that. Hens 22, which is that, John Ruby? How you doing, John? By the way, I hope you're keeping well. Thanks, thanks, Deirdre. So it's a lovely nymph, really nice nymph. And I say fish is completely different than a jig nymph, so it's important to, you know, when you're stocking your boxes up now this winter, don't go into a mad panic with all jigs. You know, I have a certain amount of sections in my box that would have standard hooks. I do like the 301. You can see that lovely gape on that. It's for a fine wire hook. It's quite strong as well. Good stuff, Dennis. But you know, so it's a really, really good nymph. Well worth having in the box for next season. Been fishing that for many years now, and I've got a lot of fishing. A really good dry dropper nymph too, not only just for your nymphing, but very natural. And say no hot spots there, folks. Don't need them all the time. Okay. Now we're going to move on to our last fly tonight. Hope everyone's enjoying the evening. And this thing is a beast, right? This next thing I'm going to tell you for you is just an absolute beast. There's no words to describe it. You're going to see it now in a minute. Okay. So you know, I'm not going to go into too much detail on this, but hens. Oh, sorry, John. Hens body quill number 22. It is, John. Yeah, it is number 22. But great stuff, Alan. And you won't be sorry, Alan. That's a really good nymph pattern. Especially I don't find it as good on a jig hook, but on a standard hook, really good. But this thing is an absolute beast to be out going to. Okay, so I get asked a lot for nymphs for, you know, deep holes, fishing for dollig and fishing for salmon. Nymph fishing for salmon is really taken off in the last 2 seasons. I think too many people had too much time in their hands during COVID, and it's really effective, you know. And this is a nymph that I've been asked for an awful lot in the last 12 months. Okay, so I'm going to tell you for this. No real name on it. I just call it the beast because it's an absolute animal of a thing. But an interesting thing to have in the box. For deep fishing holes, it's a big, strong nymph. So it's something a little bit different. So in the vise here, I'm going to put a Hannick 45 HX. Okay, so Jig Superb trophy. And it's barbed. Yes, I know it's barbed. For anyone who comes on and starts saying, "Oh, I use barbed hooks." No, you can crimp the barb if you want. Or some people still do fish a barbed hook. That's up to themselves. Yeah, Kieran, would be lovely. It is a lovely. Would work lovely for a mayfly nymph body, especially with that body quill going over the top, because you can darken it up and stuff like that. Good question, Jamie. You know what? You can, Jamie. You can use slotted beads on standard hooks if you want. You know, generally it should be countersunk. But slotted beads sitting up slightly on a standard hook, it gives a bit of an offset look to it. John Ruby, absolutely, yeah. Green with spider with that, fantastic colour. You know, if you're looking for that traditional kind of, and it just having that two-tone there in that body, it's just such an attractive looking fly. I'll take a photograph tomorrow in sunlight, guys, and show you a picture of that one. You'll be very impressed with it. But yeah, Jamie, no, I know loads of guys that fish that tie slotted beads on standard hooks. It makes a kind of an offset. So yeah, don't be afraid of it. So this is this jig hook here. On the jig hook, I'm going to put a 4.6 mil Hens tungsten slotted bead. Okay, we have these downstairs in we have those lots of different size beads downstairs. All the Pescari fly beads are 4 mil downwards, but we have a good selection of Hens beads right up to 5.5 for those guys that like to really test the depths of the rivers. And we're going to lash that thing in there. That is some hook. I can tell you one thing. That thing, you could tow the car with that joke. It is a beast. All right. So I got asked a lot for these lately, and I'm going to put some Kevlar on there. This thing will certainly find the bottom of the river for you. That's on a nice bit of Kevlar. Hi to all our YouTubers tomorrow, by the way. I meant to mention this all earlier on in the show. Got a bit carried away with the Irish Rugby performance. But hi to all our YouTubers tomorrow. This video will go up on YouTube tomorrow, and there for everybody to watch afterwards. I'm going to put a bit of partridge in here as a tail feather, and I'm going to go brown partridge. So I skip the grey section here, and I head further down into brown. Just looking to select something here for a tail. Take away the down off the feather and select a nice proportion of tail feather there and secure it. I take a little bit of gold microglint, and I'm going to add it there as with tail as well, just to give that tail a little bit of flash. So I'm just going to double that up, and I'm going to put that in there too. This thing caught all kinds of fish this year. Big trout, dolligan, a lot of salmon, stuff like that. So asked a lot for this year. Okay, a little bit of gold, just to give that tail a little bit of sparkle. We're then going to take some size 14 uni mylar peacock and orange, and we want the orange side displayed at the end of the fly. This is a new spool I took from the shop earlier on. Take that off, just take off a nice little section. So if I want the orange shown, I'll tie the peacock side out for myself now at the moment. And I'm going to secure that in well there as well. I'm going to take a little bit of hare's ear mix here now. So what I have here is hare's ear mix with a little bit of Spectra going through it. Nice subtle little bit of Spectra. Gives a lovely kind of olivey greeny look off the hare's ear once you put in a little bit of Spectra in there. And I'm going to dub that on to my thread. And I'm going to form my body. Nice, decent sized body on that. I then take my rib and I come up through the dubbing. Just allowing that dubbing to come through, as you can see. Take away your waist. Make sure it's well secured in before we go to dubbing brush to get that hare's ear to come out between those gaps of ribbon, as you can see. And you dig in that, gives a lovely body to that fly. Really nice. When that thing gets wet, it's absolutely, you jump into the river yourself after it. We're then going to get another partridge. This time I'm going to go up to the grey, the smaller feathers. We're going to put a partridge hackle on that fly. Nice soft hackle to get a bit of movement on it. Just selecting. Hopefully the ideal partridge tackle. Yeah, that one's pretty nice. Strip away the down. And I'm going to tie it in there like so. Secure it in. Can be brittle enough on the tip. So when you're using the hackle pliers, be gentle. It can break a number of times. Wrap or two, wrap and a half there, perfect. Secure them with the thread. Take away the hackle pliers, get in there and just take away the tip. Missed it. There we go. Lovely. Now, to finish off this fly, it's up to yourself, depending on what you're after. We use spectre drubbing, hand spectre drubbing, orange or pink. Okay, depends on what you want. Okay, one or the other. Okay, for this particular one now, we're going to tie in the orange. So it's spectre number 98. Worth doing both. I get a lot of requests for both. I get a lot of requests for this nymph the last year or two. A little bit of spectre drubbing there, up there at the head. We'll finish it off. There you have it. That is an absolute beast of a nymph. Brush it out. I brush all my nymphs out, as you all know. I like that. Nice brushed out look. Getting that orange spectre to go back through that, as you can see. Back to that nice soft partridge tackle. Go over that nice hairs of your body. With that nice orange rib. Thanks, Graham. And that thing there, call it what you like, folks, but that thing is some nymph. That thing's a bomb. You get hit in the back of the head, you're going to go sleep for a while. So be careful, or you're going to break rods. So be careful with those tips. But that thing is an absolute beast. Tie them, it's tied in size 10s. It's the H45XH Hannick hook. We tie that on mostly. As you can see, it's a very strong looking wire hook. Really is a lot of weight in there in that 4.6mm bead. Thanks, Kieran. Thanks, James. So it's a big beast of a bead. A lovely nymph, don't get me wrong. You catch a lot of trout on that thing, especially early season. It's going to get right to the bottom. It's going to drag the bottom really well. But yeah. And look, there's a lot of lads fishing for dolligan, fishing for salmon and stuff like that. Euro nymph for salmon and things is becoming very popular. Something we might do a show on some stage. Thanks, Olga. At some stage, Euro nymph for salmon and stuff. We might leave that for till next year's season. To do a bit more practice on it and get it a bit more perfected. But there we have it, folks. That's the end of the show for tonight. I hope you all enjoyed it. Thanks ever so much for everybody who watched in, tuned in, sending comments and asked questions. If you do have any questions after tonight, please feel free to pick up the phone, give us a buzz here in Pescari Fly, or send us an email or send us a message and we'll get back to you as quick as we can and try and answer your question. If not, we'll put you in touch with the person that can answer your question. If you're looking for any fishing gear or fly tying gear, please, by all means, any gear we type tonight, it's all downstairs in the shop. Feel free to call in anytime. We're here 7 days a week, or check out our website, www.pescarifly.com. Thanks, Dylan. Thanks, Terry. Really appreciate you all having. Stephen Potts is on there with us from Kildare. How you doing, Stephen? Hope you're keeping well. Robbie Berry, thanks a million, Robbie. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to give us a shout. Anytime. We love having the chat and the crack here about fly fishing. We thanks everyone so much for all the support. And someone's on there saying looks like a good grayling. I haven't tried one for grayling. Might get an out test for grayling maybe in a couple of weeks' time in the Welsh We'll see. Thanks, Elaine and Norman Wells, Brendan Spillane. Great to have everyone on tonight with us. And look, say give a shout anytime, folks. Look forward to next Saturday night. We'll be back on again. Thanks, Gianluca. Gianluca was there tonight. Looking forward to next Saturday night. Another show lined up. We're going to be here live every Saturday night until March, as best we can. Might miss the Hannick Festival, which is on the first Saturday night of the December. We'll see how we go. We might. Thanks, Liam. Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Brian. We might do a show from Wales. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Everything depends on how the team is getting on and if we can get a few people involved. We might try to organise something. But until then, folks, enjoy the rest of your Saturday night. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. God bless. And by the way, folks, everyone stay safe. The COVID numbers are rising, and we don't need any bad news. So everybody stay safe, look after themselves, and talk to you all soon. Thanks for watching.